Hello and welcome back, you guys, to the last, final, complete episode of Heartbaked. This is the end of our road with this game, and I am happy to be here with you guys to do it. So, we are on the Radley route. You guys know that. You've been here for the road trip and the terrible, terrible incidents that were me breaking his heart multiple times because I'm just really bad at this. And so, let's just hop right into chapter 10 and finish this up, shall we? I sat in the quiet of my kitchen and hummed a song to myself. It was just before 5 in the morning, so Radley wasn't quite here yet. I had my grandmother's cookbook beside me as I carefully measured the ingredients for the heart-baked recipe. Today was the day that I would finally make the tastiest cake known to Elf. I giggled evilly to myself as the thought of crushing Carver passed through my mind. I put the ingredients into a mixer in the correct order, checking and double-checking each time. The cake had to be perfect. Next up was pouring it into the baking pan, and I opted to use a heart-shaped one. Why not be a little corny? I gently placed the pan in the oven and sat close enough that I could watch the cake as it baked. The excitement was overwhelming, and I had to keep myself from bouncing like Radley. I heard the front door open and then close. "Good morning, Ty." Speaking of Radley, Rads, come here. I didn't break my gaze from the oven. The cake hadn't changed yet, but I was determined to see this through to the end. Literally. "What are you watching?" He walked over, looking more than confused. "Heartbaked." I couldn't hold the excitement anymore, and I jumped up a few times. "Heartbaked?" "The cake, the love cake? Oh, Rads, I need you to tell me you love me." "I love you." He rested his head on top of mine, and I pouted. "Not yet, Donut Head. You didn't let me finish. You have to tell me as I finish decorating it, okay?" "Alrighty." He pulled a stool over and sat beside me, then put his head back on mine. We both spent the next 40 minutes watching the cake rise and brown. It was the most beautiful pastry I had ever seen in my life. As the oven beeped, I jumped up and grabbed my oven mitts, then gingerly took the cake out and placed it on the counter to cool. I let out a small whine. I didn't want to wait anymore. The great tiger waited for no pastry, except apparently this one. "Hey, Ty." Yeah? I mean, what?" He let out a loud laugh. "Staring at it isn't going to make it cool down faster. You might actually heat it up if you stand too close." Did he just call me hot? Wait, what? Here he is, Mr. Smooth McGroove, while just a few days ago I was struggling to flirt with him. He quietly snickered to himself when I glared at him. "You're being really cute today." "I'm not." I crossed my arms and turned back to the cake. It had to be done by now. I poked the top of it and it was still too warm. We waited another 15 minutes before I couldn't wait any longer. I flipped the cake out of the pan and brushed away any crumbs. I carefully spread the icing around the top and sides before piping in the smaller details. I added a few fruits, and as I went to place the last strawberry, I called Radley over. "Rads, it's time." He jumped up and skipped over to me. "It's time?" "Yeah, you gotta tell me now." I was past Radley levels of excitement. "Ty." He placed a hand under my chin and planted his lips on mine. After a few seconds, he pulled away and looked straight into my eyes. "I love you." I felt a blush grow on my face. That was the last thing I was expecting. I cleared my throat, and as soon as I turned to place the strawberry on the cake, it exploded. Radley and I were both covered waist up in icing, fruit and cake. I let out a choked sob. Did I do wrong? I covered my face with my hands and fell to my knees. Radley burst into laughter. I glared up at him, then grabbed his ankle and pulled as hard as I could. He dropped to the floor beside me with a heavy thud. "Ow, Ty!" He whined and scratched the back of his head. "This is all your fault. I wanted to say if you didn't love me so much, that wouldn't have happened." "Aw, Ty, I'm sorry." He crawled over and pulled me into his arms. "You're just going to have to come up with a recipe that can contain all of my love for you." The pastry god really has forsaken me. Ending number 1. My love cannot be measured. Aww. There we go. Let's go to the credits, and then I'll just give you guys a little chat up afterwards. Whew. Well, there we go, guys. That was the end of everything. So we did all of the routes and we got through every single one of them. And I really enjoyed this game. There were a little bit too many typos or things like that from like me, but like I still really enjoyed it. Top on a scale of 1 to 3, which one's my 1 being my top favorite, 3rd being like my, well, it was okay, but like whatever, because I didn't really dislike any of the routes. I would say that Benjamin was my favorite route, because I feel like the fact she wrote it in her diary and that caused the issue was really well written and like really got me emotionally. Like I felt really bad. And then I liked her like development during that too. The fact that he was very weird, but he also developed as a character too. He like changed and got better, and she taught him how to interact and stuff like that. So I really liked Benjamin's route, and I have to say that's my number 1. And then my number 2, it's weird because it was right in the order that I played them. My number 2 is actually Carver, which is a surprise because I didn't think that it would be Carver because I don't usually go for shorties. But I think he actually had a pretty good story as well. And I think it's because the reason Radley got 3rd place isn't because I disliked his route, but because he knew the whole time. So like there wasn't that like really heavy conflict, and instead the conflict was more of an internal conflict with herself over the fact that she was doing this to her best friend, and he like would love her unconditionally either way, and it was really all about her in the end. And I felt like the endings for that one ended really abruptly, like in the middle of conversation it just stopped, and then I got ending whatever the ending was. So I felt like that one was kind of like abrupt endings, and like they didn't know how to close it off because of the fact that Radley was obviously in love with her beforehand and was just happy that she chose him. While with the Benjamin and Carver route, there was conflict there, and you actually got like an ending in a good manner with those two. I'd say that the best endings were definitely with Benjamin for the bad endings, because the diary entries were different every time. And I feel like they explained the endings better in that one. Carver, I really did like the good ending. I thought it was very cute, and there were also subtle hints that Carver liked you throughout the thing, like the fact that he touched the palm and like rubbed his thumb over the palm of her hand, that kind of thing. So I think his subtlety in his affection was really nice. And the fact that he always comes to her shop and like gets things from her, even though he always teases her, but it's kind of like playful teasing. So yeah, Radley ended up in 3rd place, but like it doesn't mean that he lost out in any way. And I would love to hear what you guys thought based on the 3 different routes and which ones you guys enjoyed the most. And that's it. So you guys know the drill. Have a great weekend, have a good week, and have a good night.